Hello, ladies and gentlemen, craft spirit enthusiasts, and those interested in the intoxicating world of craft distilleries, cideries, meaderies, wineries, and the occasional foray into breweries. It's Rich Shane, and welcome to Fermented Adventure, the podcast, where we bring you the fascinating people that are making the mash, fermenting, distilling, bottling, pouring, and delivering to you some of the finest libations in the world. Before we get started, here are a few housekeeping items. Thank you for bringing the podcast into wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We truly are grateful that you have chosen to listen and make us part of your day. It would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. This helps us climb in the rankings, and it makes it easier for others to find us. Don't hesitate to leave us your comments as well. If the podcast didn't meet your expectations, tell us why. We're always striving to improve. You can find us at fermentedadventure.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook as Fermented Adventure. Email us at fermentedadventure@gmail.com. All right, FA Nation, let's meet our guest. He's David Kowalski. I'm Rich Shane. This is Fermented Adventure, the podcast. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be on this morning.
I am so excited. This is one of those bottles that I can't wait to open. I can't wait to learn more about. What is Kool-Luah?
So our Lebowski's Kool-Luah coffee liqueur, made right here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Kind of a crazy adventure, serendipity, everything. My Monica and I opened Lebowski's Taproom in Colorado Springs, Colorado in August of 2023. 2 months after we opened the tap room, Monica came across her dad's recipe for coffee liqueur in a box of cards and letters that had been sitting in my basement for 25 years. Her dad passed away in the late 80s, unfortunately, in a mining accident. But they used to make this product together when she was a little girl around the holiday seasons, give it as gifts. This was my father-in-law's main hunting fuel. He would take gallons of it hunting with him and his hunting party. So it had just been kind of forgotten that recipe. Monica was actually looking for something else, came across the recipe, and since we owned a Lebowski themed restaurant, we're like, hell, we have to give this a try. Turns out it's the best tasting coffee liqueur in the world. It's a vodka-based coffee liqueur. The vodka doesn't add an extra flavor profile, and it doesn't add additional sweetness. Some of our competitors in the marketplace are either rum or tequila agave based, so that inherently adds that extra layer of sugar and that alcohol flavor to it. The vodka lets the Colombian coffee that we use really shine through in the product. So we tested it out here at the tap room for about 8 months. Black Hat Distillery here in Colorado Springs, Colorado is our partner that makes the product for us commercially. They're actually the ones that approached us and said this product is way too good not to be a real live product in the marketplace. So starting in April of last year, we started doing pre-orders of the product. We did about 800 bottles pre-order before we even launched the product. In the past 10 months, we've sold over 6,000 bottles of the products at liquor stores, restaurants, right here at Lebowski's Taproom. And we just ordered 25,000 bottles as we get ready to launch this product across the United States.
Lebowski's Taproom.
Yes.
How did that all get started?
So that's another crazy surprise, crazy story. Everything that's happened to Monica in the past 6 years has been kind of a series of serendipitous events. So Monica and I had talked about doing a restaurant, pub style bar for years and years. Started out more like a 50s style diner. I was always going to be in a bowling shirt, whichever way we went with our restaurant concept. Great burgers, great chicken wings, great elevated pub food. We wanted to kind of bring to Colorado Springs the type of pub style restaurant that we had experienced in our travels around the United States, travels around the world. And so we had notebooks, kind of planning recipes, planning concepts. In 2019, we went with friends to Iceland. And in Reykjavik is one of the more famous of the Lebowski themed restaurants, the Lebowski Bar. And so we went in on our first day in town, and a light bulb just went off. I mean, and sure, we probably had a few cocktails in us at the time, but we were like, the menu was very similar to what we were planning. For whatever reason, the White Russians that they offered just made sense to us. And we're like, this is the mid-century modern feel of the restaurant. It's just like something clicked, and we made the decision that night in February of 2019 that when we finally do this crazy restaurant adventure, it's going to be Lebowski themed. And so we came back. We started telling all of our friends and family. My niece actually designed the logo for us as a gift for Christmas in 2019. We repurposed it for the Lebowski's Kool-Luah brand, but she's the one that came up with that concept. Monica wanted it to be something that seemed familiar to you, like Saturday morning cartoons, Hanna-Barbera, just that fun, catchy, mid-century modern themed feel. And so we've kind of based the restaurant around that, the feel of the logo. And then now with our label and the Lebowski's Kool-Luah, it's just been kind of crazy. And so, like, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, in 2023, Monica was laid off from her corporate job and got a nice severance package. So it was that line in the sand. It's like, okay, if we have the ability to do this crazy restaurant concept, or you know what, we're going to put in our back pocket, and it's just going to be a fun thing that we think about for forever. And so we jumped into the deep end of the swimming pool and decided to open up the restaurant. We opened in August. By October, we were so busy that I quit my corporate job as well to join the restaurant. And here we are for the past 20 months. This has been our primary gig. Just continue to grow every day.
Pardon the interruption. Thank you so much for listening to Fermented Adventure, the podcast. Could you do us a favor? Hit that follow button. It makes it easier for others to find us, and it helps us climb in the rankings. Take a screenshot of the podcast, post it, tag us, and let everyone know that you listen to the Fermented Adventure podcast. Now, back to our podcast. All right, first of all, you opened up and talked about this label. I'm a huge fan of brands and all that goes into what you do to build that relationship with the consumer. And
Absolutely.
This label, we just had Sunshine Punch on, very much thought out as to how they go through everything to build that connection with who's buying the product, not just what's inside, but outside as well. And when I saw this label, all right, bam, you got that bowling alley theme here, but I also had a connection to the tiki culture. And
Yes.
Coffee in the tiki culture has a very prominent place. So I felt like you were really hitting on two different genres. And you talk about genres. This Fermented Adventure that Dawn and I are on, I had no idea that there was this Lebowski themed restaurant bar thing going on. How many are there in the world?
So there's the one in Iceland, the one in there's a Lebowski's in Glasgow, Scotland. There are a few other here in the United States. Recently, we just heard about one that's opening in Canada. There's a Lebowski's in Thailand. That one's kind of the more unusual of the one. They opened about 6 months ago. So they serve it's in Thailand, named Lebowski's. It's decorated with things from the movie, but they only serve Spanish food from Spain. So paella and the shrimps with the heads on them and that kind of thing. So it's just that one's the most unusual. I mean, ours is more the comfort food, the burgers, award-winning chicken wings, just overall great food.
I'm enamored by this themed restaurant renaissance of Lebowski that's going on in the world. And now for us, I mean, I talked about tiki culture. We love going to tiki bars. Now we're going to have to starting with yours. We'll have to get out to your neck of the woods in Colorado Springs to try your version of what Lebowski means. I'm curious for you, the first time you saw The Big Lebowski, how did that connect with you? Did you say, I love this movie? Or was it one of those things where you needed to grow into it? Did it hit you right away? Because for me, it's one of those things that you hear it and then it becomes bigger than it is.
Yes.
How was your experience?
So honestly, I mean, I probably didn't see The Big Lebowski until like 2001, after it had already come out on, HBO and some of the other services. The streaming services didn't even exist at that time. And so I've always been a huge fan of the Coen brothers and their movies. I mean, I think we've seen every single one of them. But again, that craziness, that serendipity, I mean, obviously, The Big Lebowski has been a favorite movie. One of those movies you can just turn on and listen to. You don't even have to watch it now. Just listen to it in the background, hear the quotes, hear the characters within the movie. So yeah, I mean, but honestly, if you would have asked us 10 years ago if we were going to open a Lebowski themed restaurant, we would have said, "Nah, you're crazy. Who does that kind of thing?" And so it's really just been this wild, amazing journey, and it's been the response to it has been incredible. I mean, obviously, we get fans of the movie that come in specifically because we are Lebowski's Taproom and that connection to the movie. But I mean, probably 20 to 30% of our customers have never even seen the movie. So we're actually introducing that movie to a whole new culture, and mainly that generation 50 plus that didn't see it. I mean, and then they come in, they experience our restaurant, and then they watch the movie for the first time, and they connect everything that they see within the restaurant to what they're experiencing in the movie. So that duality has been so fun to that they'll come back a second or third time and be like, we watched the movie. I understand what this means. I understand why you have a rug on the wall. I get why we have all these things going on.
You talk about theming the restaurant, the customer experience. Are there things that or experiences that you're still looking to create for your customers that you're still searching for or where you like to add?
So, I mean, obviously, with the coffee liqueur, we continue to utilize that in our quarterly drink menus. We're always coming up with something brand new. We started out with our main menu with 9 White Russians on our menu. The reason for that is in the movie, the dude drinks a White Russian at 9 different times. So we had to come up with 9 distinct recipes, one with tequila, one with bourbon, a couple with vodka. We do a non-dairy version, but since we've opened in the past 20 months, we now have written down 54 different recipes for White Russians using every single alcohol you can imagine. So we're trying to, in addition to the food menu that we're constantly coming up with new specials, new things, our drink menu we want to keep just as interesting. And those new flavor profiles, we now do a White Russian with limoncello. So add 1/3 with limoncello, 1/3 coffee liqueur, 1/3 half and half. Tastes like a German chocolate cake. And so, I mean, things that we have an absinthe-based White Russian. We have, if a new distributor comes into our restaurant to try to sell us an alcohol product, the very first thing I do is like, okay, let's make it into White Russian. If it tastes good, there's a chance we may carry that product. If it doesn't work, then probably not.
I will tell you, your creativity and just the way your face lights up as you're describing all these different experiences that you could just have. I had no idea there were this many versions of a White Russian. Your customers are blessed. They really are, because
Thank you. And that's not even getting into espresso martinis. So on the espresso martini side, I mean, obviously our product goes fantastic. I mean, I like to think, and we've had customers tell us we have the best espresso martini in Colorado Springs and in Colorado. Now you're going to be able to get that same exact espresso martini everywhere. We have the Lebowski's Kool-Luah product in 27 restaurants besides Lebowski's Taproom that are now carrying it as their primary coffee liqueur. So we continue to grow that every day. We're just beginning to break into the Denver market. Once we break into the Denver market and the restaurant scene there, it's just gonna explode.
The other thing I see is on the back, you've put 2 recipes to help your
Absolutely.
purchaser say, all right, this is all I need. I'm in the liquor store. I could just make sure if I don't have these ingredients, I can go pick them
There you
up
go.
or swing by my grocery store and fulfill these. So you've got the
Absolutely.
espresso martini, you've got the Colorado White Russian on the back of this one. You touched on something really important. What you've done, and you've distributed now, not just in your restaurant tap room, but now you're impacting other restaurants, and
Yes.
you're getting behind the bar to other places where what I see with these ready to drink or singular spirit brands is that you've given them an option of just, hey, you can pour this straight and this could be a cocktail that you don't have to spend 4 or 5 minutes creating, that you can, you look at the bottle, somebody's going to pick that up and say, what the heck is that bottle? they're going to want to
Sorry.
ask for a pour, or what cocktails do you make for that? And now, unless they've expanded and made more cocktails, you could just pour this and make a Saturday night go a lot faster. And
Absolutely.
that's the impact that you're making, not just in your establishment, but across the board. I poured this because I couldn't hold off anymore. And the nose on this is outstanding. And
Thank you.
it's almost like there's this there's this coffee milk aspect to it on the nose.
Yes.
You talked about Monica and you were kind of going through some things and you came across it. I can only imagine what that initial conversation for the both of you was like when she looked at this and said, wait, this is the recipe for the coffee liqueur that we always made. What was that initial reaction and how did it go from, all right, we have the recipe to why don't we try making this?
So that again was trial and error. I mean, Monica found the recipe, and and the story is even deeper and even more crazy. So our youngest daughter Natalie was actually getting ready to head off to college, and she wanted her first tattoo on her arm to say "I love you with all my heart" in her grandma's handwriting. And her grandma passed away a few years ago, but she would tell her that all the time. She'd write it in cards and letters. So that's what Monica was looking for. She was looking for an example of her mom's handwriting that says, I love you with all my heart. And so she found the card that had that written in it that we used for Natalie's tattoo. Right behind it was her dad's recipe for coffee liqueur. So it was just meant to be, meant to happen. And Monica's like, I mean, she had that epiphany, like, hey, I remember this. I remember it was very good. I mean, as an 8 or 9 year old, she was trying the coffee liqueur, and so she said we got to give this a try. So we decided to make up a batch here at the tap room to give it a try. First batch came out horrible. Monica we basically put all the ingredients into one big kettle. Followed the process about 75% of the way, but didn't follow her dad's directions exactly, and it came out more like a coffee candy. It didn't work, and so we were like, man. So we actually kind of used that as like a caramel syrup for a dessert that we used. It tasted good, but the viscosity was not there. And so then we went back to the recipe, and Monica's dad specifically wrote that two of the ingredients have to be combined and then set aside. Then you make the rest of the process, and at the very end you combine them together. So this product is as much science as it is the creation experience. And once we did that, it was exactly the way that she used to make it. I mean, she had that epiphany. But one of the cooler things that we also one of Monica's cousins from Trinidad came up, and he sat down. We gave him a taste. John took a sip of that, and it was like on Ratatouille, where the food critic like jumps back to his childhood. John had that same exact look on his face, the exact same experience. Took him back to a hunting trip 35 years ago that he did with Monica's dad, where they sat around a campfire drinking this product. So from that point, I don't know that even then, if we thought that this would become the product that it is today. We just knew that it was a cheaper alternative for our White Russians, for our espresso martinis. So that's where we started using it here at the tap room. People loved it. The Christmas season that year, people kept asking, I want to buy bottles. I want to buy bottles of the product to give away, to take home, to drink over the holidays. And we were like, well, we don't have a distilling license. We can make the product for our own consumption under our liquor license and food license. But it wasn't until Black Hat approached us and said, we need to make this real, that it really did that. So we actually I mentioned earlier, but live to the listeners, Monica and I were on a reality television show back in March of last year called The Blocks, BLOX. Wes Bergman is the host and producer of that show. He's been on The Challenge on MTV for the past 20 plus years. He came up with a competition show as well as a training ground for new businesses. So we took this product with us on the blocks, and that's really where we learned so much about how we needed to market this product, how we needed to get this product launched out into the world. So we filmed our season of the show, season 14, at the end of March. we came back and immediately knew that we had to. We had already been in talks with Black Hat about producing the product. We knew that we had to get this rolling. So I mean, within a 2 week period, that's where I mentioned we started doing pre-sales for the product. We had a mock-up of the label, we had a mock-up of the bottle, and so here at the tap room, my favorite part of my job here is giving people tastes and samples of the product, and that's where the product sells itself. We like I mentioned, we pre-sold 800 bottles of the product in the first 4 weeks after launching it. Didn't deliver product until June of last year, and then that's where it just kind of has taken off from there.
You have such a tremendously difficult job. It's I see where you struggle, where you're sharing this and watching people's reactions as it first crosses their lips on their tongue, and then they get
Oh,
to
yeah.
experience this wonderful family heirloom. And
Yes.
listening, I'm so grateful that you unraveled that story, because it really, it's a God wink. It's
Yes.
something that leads to something that there's this there's this power. You don't know where it's going to take you to, but one thing leads to another, and then the relationships or the interactions you're having, as you talk about with Black Hat. I'm listening to you, and you and Monica are like those songwriters that find this singer, this star that says, "I want to record that," and then it takes it to a higher level than what you're capable of doing now. But you're still going out there and going, "Yep, we wrote this song, and it wasn't
Absolutely.
us, but it was the family that wrote this song," and being out there hunting and all those things. This is delicious. There's a lovely bitterness to this that I want to have in a coffee liqueur. It's
Yes.
sweet, but it's not over sweet. It's got this wonderful viscosity, and I feel like I'm listening to you explain the story and the origin. And David, I'm just sitting here sipping my coffee. I'm just listening. You and I are just, we're just chatting. I'm listening.
Sure.
I'm sipping my morning coffee with you. 20% alcohol, 40 proof. I can add this to coffee if I want. I can jazz it up and make one of your special signature White Russians. What do you got there?
I got a White Russian here to go along with the theme of the day.
Where do you? So I mean, I think any great spirit, any great liqueur starts with the ingredients.
Absolutely.
Was that a conversation that you and Monica had as you progressed with how you wanted this recipe to be?
So I mean, and that's where it gets even crazier. So again, I the and so the other thing on the bottle that's kind of our hidden secret. Monica's dad's name was Donnie. So again, fits with the theme of the movie, the serendipity, one of the characters in the Big Lebowski. So when people pick up this bottle and look on the back, they're going to think that that's Donnie from the movie, but that's really Monica's dad. It's keeping his spirit alive. It's a tribute to him. But he used vodka as the base of his coffee liqueur, and literally probably because back in the 80s a bottle of vodka was $2 or $3, so it was probably the cheapest of the different alternatives that he could use. The flavor profile worked out, so again he used a Colombian coffee, and that's where his handwritten recipe that we have framed at home has like different coffees that he tried, and there was one specific Colombian coffee that he came across that was trial and error on his part, scratched out the other ones and circled that one 3 times. So we knew that was the one we had to use when we initially tried it. And it really is those ingredients that he came up with that really makes the product what it is. Again, it's not super sweet because the vodka doesn't add the extra sugar profile. It also doesn't add any additional alcohol flavor to the product. But everything that goes into this is 100% no artificial flavors or colors, which sets us apart in the marketplace. We're one of the only coffee liqueurs that has no caramel color, has no artificial flavors, which makes it both vegan and gluten free. And when Monica's dad created this recipe in the 70s and 80s, I don't even know if gluten existed at that point in time, but it fits that bill. I mean, the vegan, they're probably vegans in the 70s and 80s, but not to the extent that there are today. So this product was made for 2025 in the 70s. I mean, it just kind of checks all the check marks. And so that was one of the main things as we worked with Black Hat Distillery to come up with the commercial grade product. They tried to do the exact same thing. They tried to throw everything in a batch and make 200 gallons of the product at one time. And the first few batches did not come out. They were not right. They had to follow that science. We explained to them, you have to combine these two ingredients, then let it sit, combine the other ingredients, make that side, combine the two at the end. And that's really the secret to that maturation process. And they wanted to use a cold brew coffee. They wanted to try to use a cheaper coffee in order to from a scalability perspective, be able to save a few pennies, and they were no good. And so that's where we learned we have to use the exact ingredients that Monica's dad said we needed to use in this product. And when they finally gave in and did that, sure, our production costs are a few pennies more, but the quality and the flavor that produces is just tremendous. And that our goal is to get this throughout the United States. We've been entering it into competitions. We picked up our first gold medal for the product at the San Diego International Wine and Spirits Challenge in February. And 2 weeks ago, we found out we won 3 gold medals at the Los Angeles Invitational Spirits Challenge. We got a gold medal for the product. We got best in class and best coffee liqueur in Los Angeles. So we continue to enter it into those national. We have the New York Spirits Challenge coming up. There's a women distiller challenge coming up that we're entering the product into. So we just want to get that word out there, get that in front, get that recognition for the product as we get ready to distribute across the United States. We're now licensed to distribute the product in California, Texas, and Florida to start. Hopefully Nevada is one of the next ones that we add to that. But throughout this journey, every few months, adding a few states to that process. By the end of 2025 into 2026, we're hoping that this product is across the United States.
In your description of how all this continued to take place with Black Hat, and
Yes.
I always, am fascinated by, all right, we've got this small recipe, but when you have to expand it out to a larger production, sometimes it just doesn't translate. One of the beauties that I'm sure you and Monica wish you could sit down with her dad Donnie and say,
Yes.
what were you thinking? Like all the questions you must have had going from just making the recipe, the trial and error, handing it off to Black Hat, working with them, making that production happen. But it's almost like he knew what he was doing. He foresaw this somewhere down the road, and he put guardrails on this.
Yes. Yes.
He knew if you found that recipe, he was saying to the future, whoever finds this, this is the map to get to the treasure. Don't
Absolutely.
try to go a different way. You won't get there. That is
Exactly.
the hairs on the back of my neck stand up as I really think about that through. You go from, you talk about, you start the restaurant, you visit another Lebowski themed restaurant and bar. What's your inspiration now? What motivates you and Monica to do what you're doing and just continue to get out there and spread the word?
So it's just every day is a new adventure. I mean, obviously the intent of our restaurant is to kind of create a community within Colorado Springs. Probably 40% of our daily clientele are repeat customers that live literally within a 5-mile radius of the restaurant. We have people that come in 4 and 5 times a week because we do different daily, weekly specials on our food menu. But we've really created kind of that local hangout, for lack of a better term, the Cheers bar in Colorado Springs, where people can come. They know each other. Our customers are interacting, engaging. One of the things that Monica and I learned very early on is that in the restaurant industry today, it's not just about having good food and a good place to come and hang out with great drinks. people also want something to do. So we do trivia every Monday night. We rotate the themes. We do bingo every Thursday night, which is our bingo nights at Lebowski's Taproom are crazy. Like our inside of our restaurant seats 55 people. We literally have had upwards of 60 or 70 people here for a bingo night because we try to line up a different distiller. Our whole theme and concept in the restaurant is we try to feature Colorado as much as possible. From our beers, from our spirits, from the food products that we choose, we try to ground that and give people kind of a tour of Colorado. And so for our bingo nights, we line up a different distillery or a different brewery each week. So people get to come in. Not only do they have fun doing bingo, but then they get to taste those spirits, taste those beers from all across Colorado. We try to work with them to give away a bottle of product or a 6 or 12 pack of beer if it's a brewery that is sponsoring the nights. And I mean, we have people calling like Monday, Tuesday of each week to reserve tables for 7, 8, 10 people for our bingo night. And so my job, I now have about 17 different jobs. Not only do Monica and I run the restaurant, not only do I sell our Lebowski's Kool-Luah coffee liqueur, but I'm also the trivia master. I am also the bingo master. I had no idea when I was growing up and going to college, getting my master's degree in human resource management and organizational leadership, that I was the best bingo caller in the state of Colorado. So we're trying to create that community where people want to come, I mean, the word of mouth for our restaurants has been phenomenal. And we have people I mean, obviously when people Google and find Lebowski's Taproom, they're like, oh, Lebowski's, we gotta go there. I mean, word of mouth into the Denver market has been tremendous. I mean, we probably get 5 to 10 tables a week of people driving down from Denver just to experience what we've built here in Colorado Springs. So that was really, I don't know if that was our vision when we started, but that's really what it's developed into. And that's kind of been our theme and our concept as we grow the restaurant, as we grow the coffee liqueur brand. It's about an experience. It's about creating a memory, creating something that if you enjoy now, hey, I want to bring my friends back. I want to bring my family back in here because that's how great of an experience I had.
What you're providing today, David, for me and the listener, I believe, is this shot in the arm. This shot of coffee, your energy, your enthusiasm is infectious. But if you're kind of feeling like right now, I'm opening up my business and I just don't have that kind of juice that I had when I first started. What you're doing is you're providing that. Listen, you got to integrate yourself in the community. I would say if you haven't run for mayor or some sort of been given the ambassadorship for your community, they should, because you really put that pin in the map and you're the reason why people want to go and experience. Yes. And what they learn from you is it's not just Lebowski's, but it's the people in the community. You recognize that, you appreciate that. Cheers Bar, they're just going to start calling it the Lebowski Bar when they do the TV show as the remake for Cheers. And,
absolutely.
But that's what I get from you. This coffee, I got a shot of energy and what you provide and this clarity of knowing that just do it. Just follow your dreams.
Absolutely.
Keep going every day.
Follow your dreams, but with a plan, with a concept. And that's one of the most important things we learned from the blocks. Spoiler alert, if people haven't seen the show, Monica and I were winners on the show. We finished third out of 113 companies. So the top 3 are the winners of the blocks. The only reason they differentiate first through third is for prize money that they give out. But we consider ourselves to be the fan favorite and the ultimate winners of our season of the blocks. And that has been amazing. I mean, we've probably had 50 different people that have been on the blocks from our season and other seasons that have come into the tap room just because they saw us and they wanted to come in and meet us and that experience. But one of the things we learned on the blocks was it's always about A/B testing. I mean, always try something new. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to fail. I mean, if you try 9 things and 3 of them work, hey, that's amazing. But and continually every single day reevaluating, reinventing your restaurant, reinventing what we're doing with the coffee liqueur. trying out different things, those things that work out fantastic, do it again and again and again. But those things that don't work out as well, maybe not forget about them, but put them on the back burner or try them again in the future and see where that leads. But it's just been, I mean, what we learned in our corporate careers, and then the additional on the job learning, as well as that additional structured learning that we got on the blocks, has been really the key and the secret to our success.
I'm listening again. I mean, I'm grateful. I'm privileged for your time today on this. I'm sipping this coffee still. We're still chatting. The sweetness, even though it wasn't high on what I got, has seemed to dissipate more, and that coffee continues to come through. Yes. And there's becomes this creaminess, and there's no cream in this. There's no there's no dairy, but there's such a creaminess to this. I don't know if that has any attribute to the vodka you're using, or the whatever the grain is, or whatever the base vodka is. But I think there's a wonderful creamy mouthfeel to this. You just keep wanting to come back and do more. I'm curious, for you and Monica, were there any other recipe cards in that file?
Hi, Monica. Here's Monica. I'm going to switch seats. I'm going to let her take the captain's chair, and then I'm going to move to the first base chair.
Oh, we're tagging. This is the first time I've ever had anybody tag in or out on the podcast.
There you go. There you go. So it's always an adventure with us, right?
That's why we're called Fermented Adventure. Monica, welcome to the podcast. I've learned all about you, your family, all of the things that you and everybody did growing up, and this recipe, this wonderful recipe. And are there any other recipe cards hanging out that you're just holding off after this one just kind of takes off internationally?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Got it on the down low there. Did you tell him about, like, so I don't know if he told you, I'm sorry. I had a doctor's appointment,
No, that's okay. We're bringing the listener up to speed about Monica. We heard all about David and, the relationship with Black Hat and the restaurant and how that started for you. We stopped in Iceland. We should have stopped at Lebowski's, but we didn't. Yes. But now we need to go back to Iceland. So thanks for that. We go to Colorado
and then go to Scotland, and then go to Saskatchewan. They're all over the place.
Okay.
But so it was. I mean, I know Dave probably told you, but it's a very nostalgic smell, taste, all of that for me, because that still gives me that connection that I have with my dad. But it was really fun as one of my cousins came up, and I have a huge family. Like, people joke and say, you go somewhere and you have a cousin in every city. I used to travel a lot for my previous, and I actually traveled to India. And yes, I do have a cousin that lives in Hyderabad. So, I mean, my family is everywhere. But I said, oh, just taste it. And he's in his late 70s, and he's like, I'm not supposed to be drinking. But, having that taste, and it immediately unlocks a core memory. And that was so special to me too, to make sure and hear all those fun stories about, the good times with my dad when he was younger, and they were all hunting and having a great time.
I can share this with the both of you because I get to watch it. David hasn't stopped really having this smile on his face since, I mean, he did when we were doing the podcast, but you walked in the room or something and his face is just so happy, and you're happy. And I can see the love and the sharing of, as you pointed, the adventure, your journey together, and taking every step and seeing what, for the both of you can create together. And what you've created here with Lebowski's Kool-Luah, I love it, KOOL -LUAH. And just, it's got to be a feeling for you when you wake up every day that there are so many possibilities out there, but you have the confidence to say, you know what, we can do this. We can make this happen.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes.
It's hard. It's very hard.
I get it.
It is not always sunshine and rainbows. And it's, it's going out, getting out of bed going, do I have to do this today? But it's doing it for for yourself and for us and as a family. And it's, like the community that we've created with our regulars. I mean, they're selling it for us.
Yeah.
they love it. I mean, they're like, take, here, let me, somebody sent somebody over here. This is great. The food is great. The White Russian, oh, you could do this. I had someone who they decided they invented a drink. Now they're trying to think of a name so we can put it on the menu. I said, hey, well, so they're selling it too for us. So it's not just us. They're part of our adventure.
Individually, your favorite quotes from the Big Lebowski, which one is the one you say the most or the one that you like the most?
There's so many of them. I mean, obviously you're not a golfer. It's probably one. We're right next to a golf course here in Colorado Springs, so we get people in all the time. They actually drive their golf carts to the restaurant and park in a parking space or on the sidewalk. And so that's probably we have it in the bathroom. We have a picture of the dude sitting on the toilet from the movie, and the quote on the wall is obviously you're not a golfer.
And I have always said, careful, there's a beverage here, always. And that was, something that we joke about that too. That's probably one. Careful, man, there's a beverage. But then there's always the shut the F up, Donnie, just because it's funny.
You need a tow? I can get you a tow in 3 hours.
All right, Monica, I know you're joining us as we enjoy the conversation. And, David and I this has been an incredible time together. Is there anything we haven't touched on the podcast? Anything you want listeners to know more about you or more about Lebowski's Kool-Luah?
It's crazy what's happened in the past 10 months. And I mentioned earlier that there are days like where we wake up and we have no idea what's going to happen today. Who's going to call, what kind of email we're going to get, invited to different podcasts, invited to different things. We've actually had a connection with one of the individuals that was an inspiration for the dude character in the movie. He's getting ready to launch his own line of products and wants to potentially partner with us on something. So that was a crazy phone call that Monica got on.
And I never, like I used to be, well, I never used to answer like the phone, right? On my cell phone, I'd be like, I don't recognize this number. And now I answer it because I do give it out as my business line, right? So I answer it all the time. So I'm driving and someone calls and says, hey, I saw your information on LinkedIn. And I was like, I hadn't even I had just updated it like 2 weeks before to say that, that I'm the founder and owner of Lebowski's Kool-Luah. And they were like, I Googled and I looked up all your information and, this is, can we talk? And I'm like, sure, I'm driving, let's talk. So then I'm realizing, oh, wow, this is actually somebody that knows something. Sometimes it's just a chit chat and I'm okay with that too.
But I love your story. I'm so
thank you.
I've said this probably several times. I'm grateful for this time to share with you both today. I'm grateful that you're a friend of Fermented Adventure. We can't wait to see more of what happens with you, Lebowski's Kool-Luah, the next iteration of whatever recipes are on cards that your dad Donnie has written down and scribbled for you. When's the Lebowski convention at your place? When does that kick off? What's next?
So we actually have talked about that. I mean, we would love there used to be a Lebowski Fest that happened annually in the United States. It started out in the Nashville, Tennessee area and then expanded, kind of toured for a few years. Unfortunately, the organizers of that event had a falling out, and so there hasn't been one in 3 or 4 years now. We would love to revive that. We have connections here in Colorado Springs for venues, for the restaurant. We're working with a bowling alley where we could potentially revive that concept. We would love to bring 10 to 20,000 people to
and we're huge about doing philanthropic events. We have our next adventure is it's freezing cold here in Colorado. I don't know if he told you, we got a squall, which used to be an Albuquerque low. Now they call it a squall, but it's freezing cold. It looks like the day after tomorrow, there's like 4 inches of ice, but we're doing a polar plunge here for Special Olympics. So that's our next focused adventure.
Absolutely.
Because we sponsor a team of adult athletes that participate in the Special Olympics here in Colorado. So that's our next adventure right now.
David and Monica, you both are awesome. I, you're cold there. It's warming up here, and just really appreciate all that you bring today. Cheers to the both of you, and we can't
Cheers.
wait to hear more about what you're bringing up, what you're concocting, and in the world. Thank you so much.